Don't blink, it's your boy Ink with another content creator. Shout out, this time is Steve of the Dead. So, before we get into the video, disclaimer. I'm not a hate watcher. I don't dislike a lot of people enough to watch them. Except, I kinda am. By proxy. So, I was doing, it's funny, I was doing, last year, a year ago, I was doing a Elden Ring playthrough, right? And in Elden Ring playthrough, I was doing a 24-hour marathon. And, again, I'm a small streamer, so I don't get a lot of views. So I always put a video in the background. So I was looking for content. And out of the blue, I saw a 9-hour video. And that video, was, this is how you don't play Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64 was the game I was born with. You guys know how much I love the N64. We're talking about Golden Knights. We're talking about Dry Mask, Zelda, Ocarina of Time. We're talking about Diddy Kong Racing. We're talking about Mario Party. We're talking about so many fucking games that marked my childhood. It wasn't as big for me as the Game Boy Advance, but it was still pretty big. So I watched it. And, okay, so we're talking about DSP. A lot of people, they hate DSP. A lot of people. Do I think he's an asshole? Kinda. Do I think he's a horrible human being? Not really. I mean, he does mistake. He does do a lot of mistake. Is he a role model? Possibly not. But you know, it was DSP. He was playing games. He was playing Donkey Kong 64, and it was funny. And the thing he was saying was outrageous. It was, how can I say this? It was super entertaining, but it wasn't entertaining. Necessarily because of what he was saying. It was entertaining because the outsider, which is the guy who made This How You Don't Play, would do. So I fell in love right away with This How You Don't Play. Fell completely in love. Now we had a little issues. I needed long time videos that was streaming. So we did Diddy Kong Racing, we did Neo 1, Neo 2. Now we're sitting a year later and I've watched every single This How You Don't Play twice, 3 times. So then I started going for the real content for DSP. And right away, it was very, very, very different. Right? Very different. And I was like, holy shit, there's somebody cut content here. Like, there was, on This How You Don't Play, he was talking about how we need tips, how we need money. Now, again, I don't hate DSP. I don't hate him. I don't think he's the best person. I don't think he's a amazing human being. But he's not a fucking killer. He's not a murderer. You know, he doesn't deserve jail time. He doesn't affect me personally. Do I think it's enough for me to shit on him? No. Am I gonna make a playlist shitting on DSP? Probably not. But I do enjoy some of the track content. So of course, I went with Almighty Tevin. Almighty Tevin, I watched a lot of this video. But then, I want to branch out because sadly I was watching a lot of Almighty Tevin is interesting, but he's watching DSP. So while you're seeing that, you're seeing DSP again. So this is the content with Tevin that I already seen. I was like, okay. Then I went to Meerkat Mob, which is, I'm a big fan of Meerkat Mobs. I think he's funny. I think he's super hilarious. I think he's entertaining the way he talks, right? The Meerkat Mobs, again, it was great. The content was great for Meerkat. But I didn't feel like it had it the way I wanted to have. I was so used to watching the 90 days, the way they talked, they would describe the show. And Meerkat it was really good, but it was more comments to react or to answer, to fill, as per opposite of the person I want to talk to tonight. Then lastly, I watched one video. That one video was 5 hours long. Since then, I've been watching the whole channel. Steve of the Dead. Steve of the Dead. This guy has like 3,000 followers. He's a small channel. But, oh my god, he did a distractor. But it's funny because the way his content is put out, I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. This guy's a genius. First of all, he's gonna let DSP talk. He's gonna let DSP talk for a couple minutes. And then he's gonna say, okay, well, this is what I think, right? So you get the context and then you get the answer. It's not as reaction to what he's saying, is his perception. Also, Steve is able to make content very relatable, even if we're not a non-DSP fan like myself, For example, DSP had a receding hairline, and Steve was like, yo, my hair is precious, but I understand that my hair at some spot is getting fucked up. DSP has a cat, and Steve was like, well, you know, I have a cat and I understand. There's some detractor, like, I keep on repeating myself, but I don't hate DSP. I don't hate him. There's not a day where I say, fuck, I hope this guy goes to jail. Fuck, I hope this guy stops. Right? But when I'm watching detractor content, it's like we're exposing a bad person. I don't think a bad person who constantly do horrible thing. This is a bit controversial. It's a bit controversial. There's this part where Phil Burnell, aka Dark Side Phil, he edits his video out to block out to block out a lot of the bad shit that happened, the troll, the tips, the begging, right? That's shady. That's being dishonest. That's being dishonest, right? Non-transparent. You got moment where DSP is just rude to his channel. He's rude. There was this moment with Laverner who they asked for an apology because DSP treated them like shit. And DSP for 10 minutes wasn't looking at the screen. He was ignoring them. And people, they kept telling him in the chat, are you gonna apologize? Are you gonna apologize? And the guy just looked away. So I do think there's a lot of shitty things that DSP did. My issue with that is, I'm not trying to defend anybody, but the viewer, if you know this person is shitty, if you know this person is gonna take advantage of you, why are you sticking with them? There's some people on stream, on my streams, that I've banned. And thinking back at it, they deserve to be banned? No. They deserve to be timed out? Yes. Yes. But some people, I just had a bad day and I banned them because they were being out of order. Just a little bit and I would ban them. Do I regret that? Yes. Am I able to say I regret that? Yes. But some people, I did very opposite. Some people, they stopped watching me because I wasn't entertaining. You know, I'm lucky for what I have. I'm lucky for the views I get. I'm lucky for the public, the family that I'm creating, right? And with Steve, it does feel very, very similar. Steve is very relatable. This is the kind of content I want to make. This is content where I talk about myself as per opposed to a direction, how I feel about that because of this very case in my personal life, right? And this is not to point fingers, but I do feel like the other detractor are not willing to give a chance to DSP. And again, I think DSP is, well, DSP. With Steve, it does feel like, it does feel like Steve is more merciful. It does feel like Steve gets angry as much as the others. But with Steve, it does feel like you're a piece of shit. I'm not gonna wish you anything bad, but you're a piece of shit, right? And I've been hearing some of the detractor and the way they're talking about there's some threats, there's some things that I don't appreciate, and I understand they don't like the guy. But if you don't like the guy and you do threats online, then you're a piece of shit, right? If you threaten somebody's safety or even talk about doxing, even if you're talking about exposing something, well, it's different. If you're talking about exposing something that's a bit, how can I say, like shitty, that's not cool. For example, DSP wife Kat, who has nothing to do with the content, right? With being with DSP, she gained a lot of weight, and people made a fun of her for that. And you basically shitting on somebody for who they are with, and of course you can say, yeah, but they were the person. They're enabling shitty behavior. Not necessarily. If Phil, and I'm not saying he does, okay, but if Phil is willing or able to edit a stream to hide the begging part, and he's willing to edit and say what he wants to his wife doesn't watch the stream. Nobody's gonna watch a fucking 6-hour stream every day, right? So, in this regard, I do feel like Steve is a bit more reasonable. That's what I love. But what I love the most about Steve is he's very smart. He's very he has psychology, and he's talking about how Phil manipulates people. And when he does, he takes a clip, right? and he takes a lot of clips, right? And even though it's a small channel, he still take the time to say thank you to people who made the tips, the clips, sorry. And I just love the fact that he seems so genuine. Again, he doesn't like the guy, but there's time where he feels really real. He feels really real. I know I keep on repeating myself, but it's such a hard concept to understand. If I was with a group of friends, right, and there was this guy who constantly shit on another person, who was being like, they were insulting them over and over, I'd be like, okay, bro, I understand that you don't like the person, but like, but with Steve, it does feel like he's talking about it, and it does feel like it does really feel like it's just like, oh, did you notice? It doesn't feel like I pressed. And Steve, what I like about Steve is he's not afraid to do 8-hour video. When I'm seeing somebody with 3,000 followers makes an 8-hour video, I see passion, because there's probably not a lot of gains, right? The guy is not making banks, but he's willing to be putting in the effort. And again, the psychology factor, the fact that it's smart, the fact that you didn't think about that when you watched that, but since Steve said it, like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. It doesn't push an ID. For example, there was a stream where Phil was talking about how his mom brushed his hair since he was 17, and Steve had a friend who was a hairdresser, and he brought in the hairdresser, he brought in his friend, and it was just a chill session. It really does feel like, yo, we're watching this together. Watching a video with Steve, it reminded me when I was a teenager. And we were watching a show with friends. We were watching like Dragon Ball, and we were just talking about the show. It didn't feel like, oh, this guy's like me, the show. It feels really passive, and it's appreciative, because although I love the effort of an 8-hour video, I cannot sit and watch in 8 hours. I can stream game, I can be at work and listen to it, but I cannot watch. I have to be doing something else, because I just don't have that budget anymore. But although for that, I just think it's phenomenal that a guy like Steve does exist. That no matter how... So this is going to be the first sentence. This is going to be a sentence to describe the 12-minute video. And it is super simple. It feels nice knowing that there's people like Steve who is willing to expose somebody that's bad without themselves becoming bad. And I'm not saying... It does feel like I'm saying every other detractor are full of shit. It just, you know what? I think it has something to do with my personality. I'm not super aggressive. I don't get angry. So when I'm seeing somebody angry, it feels like foreign to me. It does seem foreign. When I see Steve, he comes for the voice of reason. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. You know, I think there's some phenomenal detractor. I think Meerkat Mob is funny. I think Steve is amazing. I think Tevin is super funny. I think Dolphin is amazing. What am I forgetting? That being said, podcast, super great. I have to make a mention though. And it's not something that's gonna be a good mention. This is kind of like not a diss, but like I'm a bit resentful. So a couple months ago, and this is why I like Steve. This is why I want to make sure that you guys understand why there's a difference between detractor, good detractor, and bad detractor. There was this podcast, right, called Side Scroller, and they did a hit piece on Phil. They made a podcast, like a 5-hour interview, and they were talking about Phil and his progress and Phil, and it felt good because Phil usually take interview that he knows he can snake his way around. Phil always take interview that he feels like he's gonna not take advantage, but he's gonna be able to avoid a lot of questions. In the Side Scroller, they were able to ask him a couple questions, and when I saw that, I said, "Fuck yeah, the Side Scroller are amazing." It was a solid piece. The podcast is phenomenal. It exposes Phil. It asks Phil his perception, his answer. It doesn't matter if Phil lied. It doesn't matter if Phil is lying to the guy. It doesn't matter if Phil's answer is a lie. It doesn't matter, because that question was asked. And if no question are asked, then there's no accountability. Now you can say those questions are asked in chat, but Phil bans them. You can ban somebody in chat, but you can't ban somebody talking to you. You understand what I mean? And I was like, yeah, that's amazing. And it became kind of a detractor because the detractor watched this. And the circle, the group of people that were watching detractor content, they were like, fuck, Side Shoulder are amazing. They showed up. I don't feel enough to spend my time watching only detractor content. If I'm bored, if I'm doing nothing, if I'm done with the video and they're popping up on my next, I'm gonna watch it for sure. But not enough to go actually search for them. I was playing Elden Ring this year, so we're going a whole year after. I was doing another 24-hour stream because Elden Ring, I like doing 24-hour stream with Elden Ring. And Elden Ring is not a game I'm gonna get tired of. It's a game again 24 hours easily. It's not hard. My issue was I was watching this and I was watching Inside Shoulder podcast. It was a show. It was I don't know what it was. It was really different. One of the two guys who watched Adam, it wasn't there anymore. It was only starting Craig. And what I saw was a shit show. It was a shit show. He was I don't know Stuttering Craig. I don't know him. Maybe he's a better human than DSP. But in this video, it was disgusting. He was talking about how it sucked. He was talking about constantly bringing up DSP and asking for tips and saying, let's monetize the hate. The more money you give me, the less money he has. You're shitting on a guy. You're shitting on a guy for begging, but you're begging yourself. You're disguising it as hate. You're disguising it as a greater good, but it's not a greater good. You're greedy. You're greedy. You're fucking greedy. You're as bad as DSP. You're as bad as DSP. You step on a lolcow to become a detractor, but you monetize. I never heard Steve once ask for tips. I never heard Steve once ask for super chat. I never seen Steve stream enough to make money. He has a 3,000 subscriber YouTube channel and he makes 8 hours video. If he makes money, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I think if he makes $200 on an 8 hours video, that's good. Because that's how big his channel is. But he's still putting the work. So I think that if you look at the opportunity like Craig, who was begging for money, talking shit about Phil, asking for money, but you're asking money yourself. So you're not better, you're worse. Because Phil's an asshole. I'm gonna say it, he's an asshole. But he never pushed somebody else. He's gonna be like, once you get a tip, he's gonna say, oh, my detractor are not gonna like that. They don't like when we're achieving gold. But he never is gonna bring up his detractor and say, hey, this guy really pissed me off today. Right? He's gonna be able to say, this is the detractor fault, this is the detractor fault. But he's never actually gonna name one of them and say, hey, this guy pissed me off today, give me cash. Right? And it sucks. It really sucks. Because I feel like people like Sonny and Craig are taking back the cause, which the cause is to expose somebody bad. And if somebody bad expose somebody that's bad, all I'm seeing is two assholes arguing. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. If I can watch the content, then my first choice is probably not two assholes arguing. There you go, that was a Steve the Dead Child. I fucking love your video, bro. I might never see this, but keep up the good work.